Welcome back, everyone, to Freaky Tales Friday, episode 53. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in, everybody on the live chat, everybody who decided not to be on the live chat, but yet decided to join. I want to thank everybody who liked, commented, subscribed, shared, everybody who is, out here trying to have a good time and trying to listen to some Freaky Tales tonight. I respectfully want to say this, that many of you have DM'd me and have told me, hey, I thought this was a paranormal podcast. I just wanted to address that this podcast has never been called a paranormal podcast. It's actually called Freaky Tales. The reason why we decided to go with Freaky Tales simply is because we want people to call in and share their stories, share their experiences, to share their freaky tales, if you will. Okay. Many times throughout the show, we do talk about the paranormal, which is normal, for us to talk about here. But many times we like to tackle and talk about different subjects. So once again, my co-host Marvelous Inc. won't be here today. Today is just me, and for the following one, he will be here. Every so often, we just want to switch it up. I've already booked some other guests to come in with me and to talk to paranormal with me and share a few of their freaky tales as well. So once again, I want to thank everybody for taking the time tonight, for being a part of the show, and my team for making all this happen. Now, what I want to get into is something that I was raised with, coming from a Mexican family and a father who loved and studied the paranormal. I was raised with this stuff, probably along with my brothers who all were intrigued with the paranormal. Some of the stuff was, when I say paranormal stuff, it's stuff that moves, things that come visit you, furniture that moves, voices that you hear. And we were also intrigued with stuff like the abominable snowman or Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Come to find out, some people say it's the same thing. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I never claimed to be. But I do know what I was raised with. And other things with, like, for an example, demonic possession. My father believed in that. That was true. I didn't know. I was raised a Catholic boy, and I just believed whatever he showed me, whatever he taught me. He also talked a lot about shadow people. He talked a lot about orbs, and he also talked a lot about what we would call today flying saucers or UFOs or Martians. As kids, that's what we call them, or humanoids. He would call them humanoids. He would say never call them Martians. Well, I didn't know. But one thing I will say, that's one thing that he would always touch on. That, and obviously a lot that had to do with the devil. And if you're a Latino, whether you're a Mexican or if you're from Peru, from El Salvador, or from wherever you're from, many of our family members have stories que se nos apareció el diablo, that the devil appeared to us. Okay? And when I say us, it's to them. They, for some reason, they all have a story. I met the devil. I seen the devil spoke to me, whatnot. That's what I was raised with. But one thing that I do want to touch on is something that I was raised with, and that's, if you will, UFOs, or what we would call them in when we were kids, flying saucers, or Martians, or humanoids. One thing that always intrigued me about that is that my father would say that we are not the only ones here on this planet. I didn't know. I just listened to what my father had to say. But now that I'm growing up, now that I've grown up, I should say, and I've looked into the subject a little bit, I always did wonder if we were the only ones. Now, some people would disagree and say, hey, Tony, you know what, we are the only ones. And on the other hand, some people will say, how can we be the only ones here? You know, so my question is, and this is one thing that I've always questioned, you know, but I do have an open mind, because my father's no longer here, but he taught me so much and he shared with me so much. And how he would try to convince me, would always share, he would open up the Bible and say, you know, when Moses led the children of Israel out of Egypt, he followed a fire in the sky by night. That's how he led the children of Israel out of Egypt. By day, Moses followed a cloud by night. So I would ask him, well, what do you think that fire was? And what do you think that cloud was? Well, of course, he would always interpret that and say, well, those were UFOs. They're in the Bible. Then he would go to the book of Ezekiel, where Ezekiel says, I saw a wheel in the middle of a wheel, and in the center of it, I saw a man's face. Well, he would always say that that was a UFO. And I didn't know. I figured that the Bible's a holy book, so I might as well believe it. As I grew up, I began to look at it, and I began to look for more clear evidence. People would always refer back to the Roswell crash and say, you know what, there was that was an air balloon that fell. Some people say no, it was an actual UFO. Has there ever been enough proof for all of us to believe? Today, we live in a society where they will just tell us, Google it, and that's where they will point to us. Oh, you can Google it, it's all over YouTube. Well, having directed videos and having done a documentary and working on my second documentary, I know how editing works. And I know how we can make a daylight look like night. I know how we can make a gloomy day look like it's sun outside. So I know how film many times can be manipulated, if you will, to make somebody believe a certain thing. My father used to read a book it's a Spanish magazine, I should say, not a book, a Spanish magazine que se llama Duda. I'll spell it out for you so you guys can look it up. The Spanish magazine is D-U-D-A. D-U-D-A. And it was had all to do with UFOs, humanoids, etc. The reason why I bring this up is because my father would always tell me that one day he believed that we will have a visitation by these aliens, that they would come down and communicate with us. He actually even went as far as saying that he believed himself at one point of his life, that even Jesus Christ himself is going to come down in a UFO. And he found me a scripture where, once again, in the book of Exodus, he said, by day, Moses followed the cloud. Then he found me a New Testament scripture where he said, Jesus will come back in the clouds. And he said, look, that's the same UFO that Moses followed. So now, as a kid, this is what I'm listening to. So he introduced me to a lot of movies, and there's a lot of movies that I've watched. And he would always say, they give you the truth in movies. I always wrestled with that because I just thought it was just Hollywood. But a lot of people say that they are releasing truth in movies. So let me name several movies that I have actually watched with them. And some of them I do recommend. I thought they were very, very intriguing. And I think you guys yourself would find them very, very intriguing. And it has to do with alien abductions, alien visitations, and just the sightings of UFOs. Now, I don't know if my audience believes in these things or not. I'll leave that up to you guys. But for me, when there's enough sightings all over the world, is it a coincidence or is there something really, really out there in the sky? I surely don't know, and I'm not a UFO expert, and I don't claim to be. But I am going to share my experiences of what my father has shared with me and has told me, and I hopefully this will encourage you guys and provoke you guys to look a little bit more into the subject, because many of you have asked me, you need to speak a little bit more on this. So all I can do is speak on what I do know. So some of the movies that I've actually watched with my father, and he actually took me to the drive-in to see this movie. And I believe many of you guys that are about my age have seen this movie. And this was in 1977, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It has starred Richard Dreyfuss. I thought it was a great movie. I really, really did. And at this time, I was only 9 years old. I was born in 68, so do the math, 1977. I was 9 years old when I saw this movie, and I was very, very intrigued by this movie. I thought the movie was great, and I even still watch it up until this day. For those of you that don't know what this movie is, it's about alien visitation. And my father was one to believe that one day we would receive alien visitation. Now, I want to press pause a little bit there, because there's a man, I believe his name is Robert Bigelow. You guys can look him up, okay? The information is at your fingertips. My brother once drove me to Las Vegas, and he showed me his, I'm just going to call it a warehouse because that's what it looked like from the outside. And from what I understand, that this guy is a billionaire. And he's invested the majority of his money into researching, because not only did his parents, but also he witnessed something from outer space up close and personal, where he invested his money. And I believe he is the one that has researched this subject out the most. And if you look him up, he actually gives you his testimony on what he saw, what he experienced. And outside of his warehouse, he actually has a big alien painted on the side of this warehouse. And this is in Las Vegas. And it's, of course, it's fenced off and it has barbed wire, and it's cameras everywhere. I was able to pull up to it, and I was able to film just a little bit outside. I really wanted to see this alien that was outside of his warehouse. And I believe his name is Robert Bigelow. I know his last name is correct, Bigelow, but look him up. And look up his testimonies and look up the interviews that he has done. And one of the questions that was asked to him was, do you believe that we will ever make contact with whatever is out there? And he said, we don't need to. He said, because they're already here. And that's what he said. They're already here living amongst us. I found that intriguing because before my dad passed away, I asked him about that. He was a lot older. I believe he passed away in his mid-80s. And he said, sí, Antonio, ya están aquí. Allow me to translate. Yes, Antonio, they're already here. Once again, as an adult, now I'm still intrigued because he's always believed this. So Close Encounters, once again, it was about having a close encounter with the third kind, and of course the third kind being these aliens. So once again, Robert Bigelow, look him up. The next movie came out in 1982, and this was the movie E.T. Many of you guys saw it. That's another movie that he took me to go see. E.T. Extraterrestrial. Okay, now, when I asked him, why are you taking me, or why are you showing me a lot of these movies that have to do with aliens or these humanoids or these Martians? And he said, well, why do you think Hollywood is so intrigued by this? And I said, I don't know. And he says, because they're real. He says, because they're real. And then he began to show me newspaper clippings and out of his magazine, the one I shared with you guys earlier, Duda, how there were these sightings and there were these pictures and unexplainable lights and unexplainable sounds and vibrations that people would hear whenever they would see these or experience these UFOs. And he would say, Hollywood is interested because there's something out there besides us. So now I ask you, do you believe that there's something out there besides us. For me, the jury is still out. I'm a skeptic, so I want to believe that there is something out there. But for me, I would like to know a little bit more proof. And maybe it's unfair for me to give my opinion on something that I'm not an expert on. But if I were to ask, are we the only people here on Earth? I would just say, now I don't know. I don't know. So moving on, this movie, E.T., what is it about? It's about making contact. This little alien was left behind, and he makes contact with Elliot, his good friend, and Elliot helps him to get back home. So he said something that simple. Hollywood is letting us know that they're trying to make contact with us. The next movie came out same year, 1982, and it's called The Thing, and it started Kurt Russell. Now, this one was in the snow. This one was actually a very, very great movie, and it was about a UFO that they actually found in the snow. Now, when I saw this with my father, I actually saw it on VHS. I saw the video of this movie. And two things that he told me, and I don't know, once again, if this is true. When I open up the phone lines, maybe some of you can call in and share and chime in and correct me, or at least tell me, I think this is true, you're onto something, or I read this, or I heard this, or I experienced this. That's why we're going to open up the lines. But he said that there's two places that these UFOs are at. He said they're not up there. Many of them are not up there. They're already here. They're already here waiting. And I asked him, waiting for what? He never told me. He believes that they are underwater and in the snow. That's what he said. He said possibly also in the desert where there is sand. That's where they're at, away from people. Once again, that's what he told me. In the ocean, in the snow, and possibly, he said, the possibility was in the desert, in the sand. Now, this movie, The Thing, started Kurt Russell. Actually, they found a huge UFO in the snow, and this thing was able to mutate and look like a human. And it was almost like it was a human clone, or it can clone itself into a dog, but they were hostile. And this was the first time that I ever seen a movie that dealt with aliens, or that dealt with, these humanoids, if you will, and they were hostile towards humans. So if you guys have never seen this movie, The Thing, it came out in 1982, and it started Kurt Russell. And to this day, probably still one of my top 10 sci-fi movies. So I encourage you guys to watch that one. It's called The Thing with Kurt Russell. And the only way they can kill this thing was through fire, and it survived in the snow. So we're moving on. Another movie that I found very intriguing, and I saw with him, Fire in the Sky, and this one was released 1993. We're going to get a little deeper into that one, so I'm going to skip that one, and because we will come back to it. And the other one I found was kind of comical. But once again, they made contact, and these were hostile aliens. And this was Independence Day, 1996, starring Will Smith. Okay. I found this one intriguing because when he finally caught an alien and he asked the questions, this alien actually answered to these people at Area 51 that they wanted to exterminate humankind. They wanted to exterminate humankind. Now, throughout the years, I don't know if this is something that my father has put into my head, that whenever I dream, this is what comes up. But I've had a lot of dreams of alien visitations, and many of them are hostile. Many of them are hostile. I don't know if they're friendly. I don't know if they're hostile. I'm just giving you my thoughts on and sharing on the things that I have dreamt about. So Independence Day, once again, was about visitation and about the extermination of the human race. He actually really enjoyed that movie. He actually thought it was funny that Will Smith could actually knock out an alien, much less slap a host. But so now we're moving on to the following year, which is 1997. 1997, and this is a movie called Contact, and it stars Jodie Foster. I thought that was a great movie. Now, I thought there was a lot of things that were real in that movie. I was watching it with my father, and one thing that I thought was real, well, at least let me say this. I think, I don't want to say it's real. Let me take that back. I wonder now if they live in a different, if they are true, if they live in a different dimension, because they actually built some type of spacecraft that was going to make contact with us. They actually left the blueprints for us to contact them. And once again, this was Jodie Foster in the movie Contact. Some of you have seen it, some of you have not. If you're intrigued by it, then go check it out. But they actually left a blueprint for us to contact them. So we build this, if you will, this spacecraft, and Jodie Foster is in it. And she spends several hours making contact with, a being of some sort. But in our time, it was instant. It was instant, so nobody thought she went anywhere. But there was I believe, about 6 hours of recording time. So she was somewhere, but in our time, it was instant. So that was one thing that my father brought up, that he said, they live in a totally different other dimension. There is no time there. So I thought that was very, very interesting. There is no time there. We have time here. We have time, if you look at a linear line, we have a time where we were born. I'll say March 28, 1968, that's me. Our present, we scoot up, and then one day when I decide to slip into eternity, that's our time. He was telling me that these beings live outside of time, so it might be 6 hours to them. To us, it may be instantaneously. I thought that was very intriguing about this movie. So once again, that was Contact with Jodie Foster. Then here we have a movie that I still like. Once again, probably one of my top 10 movies. And this is the movie Signs. Signs, which was directed by Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is a great director, great film producer. And this movie is called Signs. And once again, it's about visitation. And here we have, once again, aliens that are hostile towards humans. So my question now is, we have hostile humans and we have friendly humans. If there are aliens, are they the same way? Are some hostile? Are some friendly? Great questions. Will we ever know? I don't know. But this movie was great, and I recommend it. It came out in 2002. And once again, it's actually a really entertaining movie. Now we're going somewhere. I'm just not giving movie reviews. Okay, so please bear with me. The next movie that we saw was in 2005, and it was a remake with Tom Cruise, and this was by Steven Spielberg, and this was War of the Worlds. War of the Worlds, great movie. Alien visitation, once again. Now, the reason why I was intrigued, because something my father always said, that these aliens and these spacecrafts are here. Earlier I said that he believed they were in the ocean. Other places he said they were in the snow. And other ones he said were possibly in the desert. Well, these were in the inner cities. Lightning struck the ground, and that's what, if you will, something awoken these beings that were underground, that were already here for a long time. Now, what's a long time? I don't know. He would say thousands of years. They've been here. They are just waiting for the right time. They're just waiting. And what time is that? What is it? And he said, well, they see us destroying ourselves. So before we can completely destroy ourselves, they will appear and tell us that the reason why they're here is to help us not destroy ourselves. I'll be honest with you, I've never believed that, but I've always heard him and I always respect him because that's my father. So if you look at this movie, once again, it's a remake, and they were already, these spacecrafts were here. Very entertaining movie. Now, another one that's actually somewhat demonic, if you will, and somewhat paranormal / I guess, aliens. This came out in 2009, and it's called The Fourth Kind. The Fourth Kind. I actually found this movie very, very entertaining, so I recommend this one. As a matter of fact, watch this one alone. Okay? The Fourth Kind, this one came out in 2009. Now, if I'm touching on something that you guys are very familiar with, or you guys are intrigued with, when you guys call in, just call in and share. Maybe I'm not naming every alien or UFO movie out there, just the ones that came to mind. If you guys could think of one when you guys call in and share with me which one probably affected you, or maybe if you guys had an experience or have a story you guys want to share, you guys can always do that. The next one that I found very intriguing is from 2012, and it's called Prometheus. Prometheus. I don't know if a lot of you guys saw it, but I found this one to be very, very intriguing. And guess what? This one had to do with something in the snow. Okay? And ultimately, this movie is about that aliens, if you will, made us and, if you will, put us here. And put us here. And man is somehow trying to look for the fountain of youth, trying to contact these aliens once again so that man can live forever. After all, man has been trying to live forever since the beginning of time. Man has always tried to find the fountain of youth. Many people say that Hitler has always tried to find the gold, or if you will, the holy grail that Jesus drank out of. Because Steven Spielberg put it in the movie that if you drink from the Holy Grail, you will have eternal life. Many people said that Hitler believed that, so he was always in search for, if you will, biblical relics or biblical artifacts. So many people said, once again, that if you drank out of that cup, you would have eternal life. For me, it was just a cup that he drank out of. It was just a cup that he drank out of. But man has always been trying to look for the fountain of youth to live forever. For me, the fountain of youth is pretty much just take care of yourself. You only have one body, and guess what? You get to live in it, okay? And how you look many times, besides people with medical conditions, many times you look the way you look because of you, because of what you put in your body. Many people will say, well, you know, that's not fair. No, it's true. You are what you eat. You eat good, you look good. I have friends that ate trash their whole lives. Some are younger than me, have had their fingers cut off, had their toes cut off, had their legs cut off because of diabetes, because they didn't take care of themselves. What you put into your body is pretty much it's what you are. You are what you eat. So drugs age you. You know, cigarettes age you. So take care of yourself. So once again, in this movie, man is trying to contact these, if you will, these aliens so that they can live forever, because man doesn't want to die, you know. And I wonder why man doesn't want to die. You know what it is? Because nobody has the answer to what happens when you close your eyes and you slip into eternity. No one has that answer. What happens? There are people that say, oh, I seen the light. There are people that said, I've seen darkness. There are people that have said, I see my loved ones. And there's other people that will say, I seen hell. Actually, I've heard more testimonies of people saying, I seen hell than anything else. So once again, Prometheus came out in 2012. Then there's a movie called Arrival that came out in 2016. I thought that was another pretty good movie. So once again, let me just go over some of the movies that Hollywood has released that have to do with, once again, extraterrestrials, aliens, UFOs, humanoids, however you want to call them. You make up your mind whether you believe in them or not. There's enough movies out there, and my father would always say there's enough truth in those movies. So just do your study, read upon it, talk to some of these people. Talk to a man not too long ago. When I say not too long ago, I'll say within the end of 2022, last year. And he told me that he was always so intrigued with people always talking about alien abductions. He said he just had enough money for gas, and he had an old Volkswagen. He said he didn't have money for food, but he had enough money to buy a 12-pack of beer. So he popped beer cans all the way to Portland, Oregon, to meet a woman that claimed that had sex with aliens. And he was intrigued by it, that he drove that far, drank beer, forgot about food, just to meet this woman that claimed that she had sexual intercourse, sexual contact, or that she was, I guess, taken advantage of by these aliens. He said whenever the subject would come up, he would just go crazy because that's the subject he liked. And there's a lot of people out there that love this subject and can't get enough of this subject. They're intrigued by it, and I understand. My thing is that I just would love to see a little bit more. Now, am I asking too much? Because what if something did appear to me and it, if you will, changes my whole life? Would that be a good thing or would that be a bad thing? Well, something happened to someone, and that's where I want to get into it, and I want to talk about it. I want to share the name of Travis Walton. Travis Walton. And this is a man that probably the most popular alien abduction story out there that you can Google. And he's given his account, his testimony over and over and over and over again. And actually the movie Fire in the Sky that was released in 1993 is his movie. Not necessarily that he directed, but it was his story. He actually wrote a book about his alien abduction, and Hollywood decided to pick it up, and they made a movie of it. And I want to talk a little bit about Travis Walton. Now, everything I share with you is public knowledge. It isn't necessarily so much that I called him up. No, I don't know this man. But one thing I did listen to was a Joe Rogan episode where Joe Rogan actually interviewed this man. And you guys can look that up. Joe Rogan interviews Travis Walton. Let me just give you guys a little bit of his background here before we get into it. It says, according to Walton and a number of other members from the logging crew, on November 5th, 1975, this is how far we're going to go back, 1975. How old were you guys then? Or if you guys were actually ever even born? Okay. I was probably at this point, probably 7 years old. Okay. 7 years old. And 1975, he was working with a timber stand improvement crew near Snowflake, Arizona. And while riding in a truck with 6 of his co-workers, so here we have him and 6 co-workers, if you will, 6 co-workers, that was a total of 7 of co-workers. They allegedly encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering over the ground approximately 110 feet. So they witnessed a saucer-shaped object hovering above them about 110 feet away from them. Making a high-pitched buzz, Walton claims that after he left the truck, he approached the object. So once again, let me tell you something. I don't know this man personally, but I don't know what would make someone want to get out. I would not have gone out. I don't know if you would have gotten out. Maybe you can answer that question when you call. But if I saw something like that, especially given a high-pitched sound, I don't think, or high-pitched buzz, I don't think I would have gotten out. Some people probably would because they want to get a closer look. Maybe they were intrigued. I have no idea. I myself would have been afraid. So his account Walton claims that after he left the truck and approached the object, a beam of light suddenly appeared from the craft and knocked him unconscious, lifting him up, hovering him up, if you will, picking him up at least 40 feet off the ground. So he gets out of his truck. He walks to this, or gets closer to this hovering shaped like saucer object that has a high-pitched buzz. And a beam of light hits him. He gets tossed up at least 40 feet above the ground, and he's unconscious, and they take him. Now, I'm sharing this story because this is probably the most famous story out there of an alien abduction. Okay, now we're not finished. We're going to get somewhere with this. Okay, and it says the other 6 men were frightened and supposedly drove away. Now, once again, the 6 men were frightened, and this man, Travis Walton, was not. The other 6 men, frightened and supposedly drove away. Walton claimed that he awoke in a hospital-like room, being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. He claimed that he fought, and then he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room where he blacked out as 3 other humans put a clear plastic mask over his face. Now he's calling them humans, and I'm pretty sure he's referring to humanoids. Walton has claimed he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along a highway and 5 days later, with the flying saucer departing above him. So he was gone 5 days. 5 days. And to be exact, I'll give you the exact right now. Okay, once again, this took place November 5th, 1975. Okay. In the days of following Walton's UFO claim, the National Enquirer awarded Walton and his co-workers a $5,000 prize for the best UFO case of the year, after they were said to have passed polygraph tests administered by the Enquirer and the Aerial Phenomenal Research Organization. So in other words, they took a lie detector test. Not only did Travis Walton take one, but also his 6 friends. And this is after, obviously, he had come back. And it goes on to say that Walton, his older brother and his mother were described by the Navajo County, Arizona sheriff as longtime students of UFOs. Now, at this time, there was a lot of skeptics that didn't actually believe him, because they were saying, no, this guy was just a UFO freak and he just made this story up. But he was actually gone for 5 days. And some people are saying, well, he was probably just at his mother's house. These were the rumors that people were saying. Now, whether this story happened, is it true or not? I do not know, but I'm just sharing with you guys this account that once again, he was missing for 5 days and 6 hours before he appeared on the side of the road. Then they go on to say, for 5 days, the authorities thought he had been murdered by his co-workers, and then he was returned. All the co-workers who were there, who saw the spacecraft, they all took polygraph tests, and they all passed except for one, and that was inconclusive. So here we have 6 co-workers and him, which makes 7. All of them except one passed these polygraph tests, in other words, these lie detector tests. So now that's where it became intriguing to me, because they took lie detector tests, and I don't know how some people can pass. Some people say, oh, you hold your breath, or you try not to be nervous and try to keep your hands steady. I don't know how these things work, but they all passed. One thing I know about lies, that lies always change. The truth never changes. So this man is still alive to this day, and he's always kept the same story. People have said, oh, you know what, he was just lying. Like today, people lie for clout. And what do we call them? Clout chasers. So back then, were they referring to them as possibly clout chasers? There was no social media. All we had was newspaper and the news. So many people were saying that he was just making this up. But after passing a polygraph test, you have to ask yourself, was this real? Were people actually, were these people actually lying? They've always held their testimony, and their truth never changed. Once again, lies always change. The truth never changes. So now he begins to talk about what pretty much happened. Skeptics include the story as an example of a UFO hoax promoted by media circus, with the resulting publicity exploited by Walton to make money. So now at this point, they were saying that he was just pretty much cloud chasing to make money. Look, if somebody passes a polygraph test, you have to somehow at one point give them the benefit of the doubt. Many times when people call in and share with me the stories, unless you're getting off on calling in and lying to us, I really don't know what benefit that is. But I like to give people the benefit of the doubt when they call in and they share a story. I like to believe that it's true. I would like to believe it's true. Now we take it a step further, and you pass a polygraph test. Now some people's eyebrows are raised, and are wondering like, wow, is this guy telling the truth? But then, even then, some people still even say, "Oh, you know what? I don't know. Maybe he's lying still. We don't know." So, let me continue here. We said UFO researcher Philip J. Klass, who agreed that Walton's story was a hoax for financial gain, identified many discrepancies in the accounts of Walton and his co-workers after investigating the case. Klass reported that the polygraph tests were poorly administered, that Walton used polygraph countermeasures such as holding his breath, and the Klass uncovered an earlier failed test administered by an examiner who concluded the case involved gross deception. So now they're pretty much saying that the polygraph test didn't count. So that's my thing. So how do we know if this person is telling the truth? And that's one thing that I ask myself. Is he telling the truth? I have no idea. But yet, this is the biggest story out there ever of a person being abducted. This person now has books. This person has a website. This person makes special appearances. He actually holds his own conference yearly. We look at that and he's making money. Is he making money because this was a big hoax and Hollywood helped cover it up and made a movie and they made money because the story was intriguing? Or is this man simply telling the truth? Now, I had a chance to look at some of his interviews. And one of the things that you can always tell, and I'm going to say it this way, how I can tell, at least how I think I can tell. When somebody's talking to you, when they're telling you the truth, they're usually looking at you in the face, eye to eye, as I am to you. If you ask a person a question and he's constantly looking down, looking around, looking up, looking like he's wondering how maybe he's thinking, chances are maybe he's not telling you the truth. If you ask somebody, were you abducted? And they answer you, well, from what I can recall, yeah. You know, I was taken up. I was gone for 5 days and 6 hours. And, you know, why would I lie about something like that? I've seen plenty of interviews where he's actually doing that. Now, I'm not calling this man a liar because maybe, you know, in some other countries, they think that when you look at somebody face to face or in the eyes, that you're being disrespectful. I don't know this man, so I don't really know how he is. Maybe he's a shy man, you know, but one thing is that he never looks at the person asking the question, and he's never answering direct. If you ask me a question, I'm going to give it to you from the gut, and I'm going to look at you eye to eye, and that's where you're going to get it. You know, now some people said, oh, you know what, if they blink when they're answering, they're lying. There's so many different ways that you can lie, if you will, and get away with it. But to pass a polygraph test, I do have to give him that. He's maintained the same story throughout the years. And once again, the truth never changes, but lies always change. So is this man telling the truth? That's for you guys to do your homework and look it up. Okay. Let's keep it going here. It says, Science and Skeptics writer Michael Shermer criticized Walton's claims, saying, I think the polygraph is not a reliable determiner of truth. I think Travis Walton was not abducted by aliens in both cases. The power of deception and self-deception is all we need to understand what really happened. And after Soothing Clancy proposed that Walton was likely influenced by the NBC television movie The UFO Incident, which aired 2 weeks before his own claimed abduction and dramatized the alien abduction claims of Barney and Betty Hill. Walton's story sharing the same commonality with other alien abductions claiming that are made and after such stories. In other words, that he stole the story from what he saw on TV that was on there 2 weeks prior. Okay. You know, when I hear some of these things, I'm thinking, how can you, if this is true, I don't know how you can make financial gain. If I was abducted and things happened to me, like he said he woke up in, if you will, in a hospital-like room. And he said he described them as humans. He thought they were humans. and they were performing, if you will, certain tests on him. That's what he called them. When he was asked, was there any physical damage that you can visibly see when he appeared 5 days, 6 hours later, he said no. It was just all mental and emotional. The emotional scars, according to him, that he's still going through, and he hopes and wishes that he can forget about them. But there was no type of physical, if you will, scars or evidence that he was actually abducted. And he said that when they asked, what did these, if you will, these beings look like? And he said, your typical, movie aliens, if you will, big eyes. They had no muscles. Their skin was somewhat smooth. They were short, no hair. And he believes telepathically that's how they communicated. They actually had no facial expressions, but that they were performing several things, if you will, possibly experiments on him. He said that he got physical with one of them. He actually pushed one of them. He said they were actually not muscular at all. They didn't hold that much weight. So he got violent and he wanted answers. It didn't happen. But the way I'm looking at you and sharing this is the way that I would have wanted to hear that from him. But every time he answered, he would always look away from the camera, look away from the guest who was answering his question, and look down. So here you have an instance where he passed a polygraph test, but yet when it comes to sharing the story that he has shared over and over, it's the same story, but it's always like, you cannot look at me and give me detail. I believe detail is the answer here. Details. So finishing up here, it says, in 1978, Walton wrote the book, The Walton Experience. Okay, 1978. So he was abducted in 1975. So 3 years later, he wrote experiencing the details he claims, which became the basis for the 1993 film Fire in the Sky. Paramount Pictures decided Walton's account was too fuzzy and too similar to other television encounters. So they ordered screenwriter Tracy Torm to write a flashier, more provocative abduction story. Walton has occasionally appeared at appeared at conventions or on television. He sponsors his own UFO conference in Arizona called the Sky Fire Summit. Now, somebody may say, why are you sharing this, Tony? Because many of you have told me, talk about UFOs, talk about aliens, talk about these experiences, talk about abductions. So I am, and I picked the most popular story that has been out there that they've actually made a movie of. Now, I'm sure there's other movies out there that they've made movies of that they've said, based on true events or based on, not necessarily a true story, but based on true events. Usually when a movie says based on true events, they just nitpick and then they give it their Hollywood spin. And I believe that's what they did with Fire in the Sky, especially saying that it was too fuzzy and it sounded too much like other alien movies. So I'm covering this, and I would like to bring in, I spoke to a person that considers himself an expert, the studying of alien spacecrafts and aliens and et cetera, and alien sightings, and hopefully he doesn't cancel on me, but I've been trying to get him in here for the last couple of months so that we can revisit this subject over again, because I myself would like to hear some of the people that he's talked to, some of the people that claim that not only were abducted, but also visited by these beings. So here we have, on March 12, 1993, the opening day of Fire in the Sky, Walton and Mike Rogers appeared on CNN program Larry King, which also featured Philip J. Klass. And a lot of these things, I believe you can Google and look those up. 13 years after the book was released, Walton appeared on the Fox game show The Moment of Truth and asked if he was in fact abducted by UFO on November 5th, 1975, to which he replied yes, and answered that the show declared to be false. Yes, and an answer that the show declared to be false. Michael Shermer, who sat on the panel for the episode, subsequently wrote about the experience. He highlighted an unreliable polygraph committed on its use in this case and concluded that the power of deception and self-deception is all that is necessary to explain this case. So once again, you guys can look this up because in January 19th, 2021, Travis Walton appeared on the episode 1597, The Joe Rogan Experience. So I hope you guys found that somewhat intriguing because that is the most popular story out there about alien abduction. Now, I've read other stories of people claiming that they were abducted. Now, there are things that I want to share because this happened to family members that don't necessarily believe that they were visited by an alien, but possibly an alien of some sort. For an example, there are some women that have claimed that they received a visit from an alien. They didn't see it, but they knew it was some type of alien of some sort that actually mated with them, that actually had sex with them. And they woke up with bruises between their legs. Now, on the other hand, other women that I've known and talked to have told me, I don't believe they were aliens. I believe that these were demons. So on one hand, you have people say, no, they're demons in the sky. Those UFOs are not Martians. They're not aliens. They're not humanoids. They are demons. And on the other hand, you have people say, no, they're not demons. These are aliens. These are spacecraft. These are saucers. We are not the only people here on Earth. So before I open up the phone lines, I want to ask you guys, do you guys believe that we are the only ones here on Earth? So you guys can call in and share that story. Do you guys believe or share your opinion that we are the only ones here on Earth? Now, you guys can call and ask me, what is it that I believe in? Do I believe that we are the only people here on Earth? Now, some people will say, how can we be the only people here on Earth? That's a good question. And I believe that we need answers for some of these things. These things intrigue us. Another thing is a lot of people say, Sasquatch or Bigfoot or Yeti. People would say, it's funny that when he appears, right above him, there's always a UFO or a saucer of some sort that appears right above them. Some people say that they take them or they drop them off. And whenever humans decide to bother them, they take off. So I don't know how that works. I've never experienced Bigfoot or a Sasquatch. I've gone to Denver, Colorado, where there's signs everywhere where there's been Sasquatch sightings. I don't know if they're being sarcastic or they're being real. I don't know. But these are things that I like to discuss here on Freaky Tales, and I like to open up people's minds to possibly look into it and dig into it for themselves. Now, if there's anybody out there that disagrees with anything I've said, or maybe that wants to add something to what I said, I encourage you to call in or share something on the live chat and share your guys' story, your experience, or what you guys believe. I believe that many of you guys out there probably never get through the phone lines, but have experienced things or seen things. I've seen things in the sky that I can't explain. I really can't. I've seen things that have several times throughout my life. It looks like a little tiny, if you will, something around this size here. At least that's the way it looked so far away. It was round. It was silver, like a silver ball. And it was just going straight, and it left a trail. And before you know it, it just dissolved. I've seen that since I was a child. And after it dissolves, it almost gives it a rainbow-like color. Then I've seen things where I've been out in the desert. And some people say that you'll see the most falling stars out in the desert. Well, I saw something go up, then to the side, and then up, and then down, then go like this, and then just go straight and disappear. I don't know what that is. And this is before we had drones. And I don't think even drones could even move that fast. So can I sit here and say that those were, saucer experience, alien experiences? I can't say that, but I did see something. There is something out there. And isn't it funny that we can be a skeptic all we want, But yet we have people all over the world that are experiencing these phenomena, that are experiencing a lot of these experiences that I've seen, experiences possibly that you've seen and that we're talking about. But is there enough evidence? I don't know. But let me share one dream with you. And I believe I shared this with Marvelous when he was here, which is, for those of you that are first tuning in for the first time, Marvelous being my co-host. Every time that I've had dreams of UFO encounters, I don't know if this is my dad that taught me so much, shared with me so much, that it just stuck with me and it crept into my dreams. But every time that I've had a dream, these saucers, these spaceships, these crafts were already here. And where did I see them come up out of? What he would say, mostly from the ocean. They were already here. And my experiences were with these things weren't in my dreams. Once again, these are just dreams that I've had since I was a kid. These things were hostile. These things were hostile. Some people say, no, they're not hostile. Well, you know, for all of you that have spent all this money on this subject, my question to you is, what is it that they want? If this story was true with Travis Walton, why have, if you will, dissect him? If you've been here for thousands of years, you know, shouldn't you know mankind already? If maybe you've been here for, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of years before man was ever here. We don't know. You know, I don't know how old this earth is. I can somewhat guesstimate, according to biblical numerologies, how long man has been here on earth. But we don't know who was here before man was created. We don't know. They could have been here for so long. But now, if they've been here for a long time, they must have had plenty of opportunities to dissect and steal, to abduct. But what is it that they want to learn from us? Why haven't they made contact? Now, I read a story once that supposedly on the way here, Christopher Columbus, well, not necessarily on the way here, but Christopher Columbus supposedly, when he was on his boat, experienced, you know, a UFO. How true is that? I have no idea, but it's on record that he experienced that. Many people always say, I saw these lights, I heard this sound. Just recently in Las Vegas, there was this spacecraft that was hovering over a nightclub. Some of you had messaged me, said, Tony, can you send that to me? And I sent it to you. And the funny thing is, many of you who asked me for that footage live in Las Vegas. And I sent it to you, so I don't know how I saw it before you guys saw it. But it was out there. And it was out, I want to say, late 2022. It was out there. So I guess I'm just wondering, you know, are we alone? You know, and if we're not, you know, if they plan to make contact, is it going to be hostile? Is it going to be friendly? And what is it that they want? And are they going to communicate with us with a voice, you know, telepathically? How is that? I'm intrigued. I would like to definitely know. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. And I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to call in and share your guys' experiences or stories. Let me go ahead and, so am I plugged in over there, guys? Okay. Give me a chance. Okay. Okay. Let me go ahead and do this now. Here we go. We have our first caller. Caller, your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Tony. This is COVID-19 from downtown LA.
COVID-19.
And yeah, the Corona, the OG Corona.
All good, my brother. You know what? Thank you for taking the time and being a part of our show.
no. Thank you for this channel and the other one. But first, I gotta say that the IE fools think that Kalimak, the new item on the McDonald's menu.
Okay.
But I do believe that the aliens are not from outer space. I believe that they're from another dimension. And as the Paranormal Rangers have stated from the Navajo Nation, they believe that when the angels rebelled against God years ago,
Yes.
when they opened up the gates of hell, that the main fallen angels were closed up and enclosed in hell. The other ones that were sent to the oceans were mermaids. Then the other ones that were sent on the land were Bigfoot, Nahuales, or things that are like Nahuales, shapeshifters, and reptilians. And then the other ones are disguised as aliens in the sky. And these are all distractions that are basically feed off of our fear.
Yes.
And our insecurities, and because they know that since they know that we are mortal, they want to tempt us into the dark side to be here in hell forever. And we still have a choice, but that's it, Tony. That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Well,
And
I definitely appreciate you tuning in and sharing that, bro.
right, thanks, Tony, man, and I'll pray for you and everyone else out there. You know, even for the dark side, for them to find peace, because that's the thing that the envy about us is the peace that many of us have, and the less distractions. But thank you, and even the IE fools, I'm still cool with you guys, all right? But everyone have a blessed night, and thank you.
Thank you.
Night. Bye.
Okay. Once again, if anybody wants to call in and share an experience or a story or what they believe in, my question is, are we here alone? Call your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Tony? It's Javier. I'm calling from Fontana.
Javier from Fontana, thank you for calling in and being a part of the show tonight.
Thank you, bro. I just had a quick question, but I don't want to take up too much time. Basically, bro, I just want to know your opinion on everything that's being said about this year. Basically, you know, about the war in Ukraine, with the nuclear war possibly. And then you got people talking about the big earthquake, Jose, California, then the doomsday clock almost hitting the end of the world. I just want to know your opinion, bro, you know, and all that.
You know, let me start off by, before I answer that question, I want to start off by asking you a question. And I want you to be really honest with me when I ask you this, okay? When you hear these things happening, does it frighten you?
I'm Catholic, bro, and you know, I always hear you talk about the Bible and everything, bro. I'm with you on that. It's just out of curiosity, bro. Like, I just like to hear your opinion, you know?
Okay. Here's how I comfort
I have a homie that constantly shit, bro, like all these videos, and you know, that's why it's just been, you know, something it's been in my head.
Okay. I'm just going to give it to you from my heart and how I comfort myself and what I believe, if that's okay with you. Okay.
Yeah, bro.
You said you were Catholic, and we actually read the same Bible, okay? My thing is this, that I find comfort because I read that in the last days there will be wars and rumors of wars, okay? Wars and rumors of wars. And then he goes on to say, you know, but do not be troubled. The end is not yet, okay? Then he says this, and when I say he, I'm referring to Jesus. Some people will refer to him as Yeshua. That's how you would say it in Hebrew. Okay. He said, in this world, you will have tribulation. So that's already guaranteed. In this world, you will have tribulation, Ukraine, and all these other things you mentioned. Okay. But he said, but in me, you will have peace. And that's where I find my peace. So yes.
Yeah.
Are these things going to happen, and are they happening? Yes. But in the midst of this, I've already been told that these things are going to happen. In this world, we will have tribulation, but in me, you will have peace. And that's where I find my peace. And that's where I find my joy, because the joy doesn't come from the world. Joy only comes from one place. And I'm not talking about happiness, because happiness is temporary. But joy comes from God, and that's where I find my peace, and that's where I find my joy. So I am not troubled or shaken by these things. And when these things happen, you know, we can wait till things clear up to be able to make decisions, not necessarily based on anger or impulse, but we weigh it out and we make wise decisions on what to do next. So now, one last thing. One thing that I'm noticing, and so many people tell me, why don't you ever speak on blacks, you know, harming our vendors on raza, and you have the whites that, you know, that harm the blacks, and then the whites that harm the, you know, our people. And, you know, I read a scripture that where I found somewhat of an answer that told me that these things were supposed to happen. And I want you to look it up, and it's in Matthew 24, and it says, nation will rise against nation. And these are signs of the last days. Nation will rise against nation. Now, the New Testament, that's in the New Testament. That was written in Greek. And when you look up that Greek word, nation, you know what that word nation means? Nationality. You will have nationality against nationality. We were already warned. We were already told that these things were going to happen. So, hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for calling in.
For sure. Thank you, Tony.
Okay. All right. We're going to keep it pushing. We got a couple of missed calls while I was on that call, and I try to take the time and really answer, give you guys a good answer. Caller, your name and where you calling from.
David, Santa Maria.
David from Santa Maria, the 805. That's the 805, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, it is.
How you doing, sir? Do you have a question or a comment or a story?
Yeah, I had it's Greek mythology.
Yes.
But it has to do with Odysseus. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Odysseus?
No. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead and share.
He traveled the land of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Or how do they say it? He said he had no choice but to travel to the land of the dead.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, but I do know that he used to follow the stars.
Okay.
But what he didn't know was that the demons would play tricks on him. So they would move the stars to bring him into the dead zone. And in the dead zone, apparently that has to do with something that's not magnetic to the earth. Like if you were to take a compass in the dead zone, that the compass wouldn't work.
Yes.
But I guess that's what the demons would do to him, is force him to enter that dead zone to travel. And it's just a crazy story, and it just reminds me of somewhat of like a UFO, you know. I thought that they were, the demons are able to play with the stars, you know.
Yes. Now let me ask you this, since you shared that. Do you believe in, and I'll just, for the sake of the show, I'll call them UFOs. Do you believe in UFOs? Do you believe that they're real?
I believe they're demons, and, being here on the Central Coast, I heard that Catalina Island has a strange connection.
Okay.
To these UFOs.
Okay.
Underwater. There's supposed to be a base under Catalina Island where these UFOs.
You know what? And again, that just goes to show what I was saying, how my father always said that they were in the ocean. Possibly.
Yeah, it's crazy, but if these viewers look it up, Catalina Island UFOs, they'll see that. Many believe that there's a base that actually looks like a UFO underwater.
Something I need to look into. Okay, so you know what? But the other, again, earlier I was saying that there's people on both sides. Some people would say yes on one side that there are aliens. Others would say on the other hand, no, that there are UFOs. I mean, there are demons Some aliens, some demons. Obviously, you believe that they're demons, and that is probably one of the most popular opinions. And I'm just going to say opinions because we can't prove that that's what it is. But I have to respect your opinion on what you believe. So.
No, not a problem. I thank you again, Tony, for taking my call.
Thank you. Okay. Here we go. Caller, your name and where are you calling from?
Abel from Lansing, Michigan.
Abel, how are you tonight? Thank you for taking the time.
All right.
Anything you want to share?
What's that? Yeah. Shit, I can barely hear you.
Okay, maybe it's your phone because everybody's good over here. You want to turn down your TV?
Yeah, I don't have the TV on. I'm just using my phone right now.
Okay. Did you have a question or a story or?
Let me just use my phone. Let me. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you both ways.
All right. Shit. Damn. I've been wanting to come on here for a while. Sorry, man.
It's okay. I can hear you, man. So go ahead.
Okay, my story is everybody's been talking about like aliens and shit. You guys were talking about the alien stuff.
Yes.
Well, when I was like 7, 8 years old, or maybe 9, 10, I'm not sure. I was younger. We used to be migrant workers in the fields and shit.
Yes.
My parents. And we stay in an old ass house that was like haunted as fuck. But I'm gonna say one story for now.
Yes.
So I can fix some of this shit because I can barely hear you. But when I was younger, my uncle told me like we was hunting for like trying to shoot bats and squirrels and shit.
Yeah.
And he told me like, oh, go by the barn over there and then go by the woods or whatever. So I went and okay. When I went in there, I saw something like, seriously, they made fun of me. My family made fun of me for years because I said I seen something that looked like a turtle without its shell.
Okay.
Straight up looked like a fucking ET, but the head part was different. It had big eyes, slits on his nose, slit in his mouth. And when I seen it, when I walked in there, I'm telling you, this is real. I remembered it fully. When I walked in there, it ran and walked up the wall, and it was going out the barn window.
Now let me ask you this. Did you ever see this again?
No, that was only one time I seen this thing. And the skin looked leathery, grayish, bluish.
Wow. And how old were you when this happened?
This is the first time I'm telling you in public right now.
Yes. How old were you when you experienced this?
I say maybe like 9. I say like maybe 9 years old. We were like migrant workers.
Yeah, and there was no reason
my family, and then I was like at an old house.
Okay, and there was no reason for you to lie about this, especially as for a 9-year-old.
No.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you the truth right now.
Okay. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us? You know what? But I appreciate you sharing that story, especially since you said it's the first time you've actually ever shared that.
Okay. And when that happened, I turned around when I seen it, and I see it crawl up the wall out of haystacks and went out. I turned around and ran, and that's when I seen a flashing of light. And that's all I remember is getting up off the ground and seeing my uncle And he was like, where were you at? I was like, and then I told him the whole story. And he said, you were gone for hours. I don't know. I had missing time.
Huh. That's very interesting now.
This is not a dream. I really remember this.
Yes. No, that's very, very interesting because there's been other accounts where people have said that they've had encountered something, I guess, not of this world. And when they return home, they were gone for either hours or days.
Hey, I don't know if it's out of this world or it's been here already.
Right.
Whatever it was.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you for calling and sharing that with us, man. I greatly appreciate you being so open and transparent about that story of you being a 9-year-old boy and seeing these things. The sad part is...
I've been sending messages here and there, and I've been wanting to say I got many stories. I have... Okay, let me tell you one more thing.
Okay.
One time when I was younger, I used to mess around with my sister's dolls and torture them and stuff.
Yes.
This is years after that. And I used to like cut the heads off. You know, I used to be like a younger, kid boy. And I used to pull the heads off and throw them and whatever. And my sister would get mad and cry.
Okay.
And one night, when I was sleeping, this is during the time they had Cabbage Patch dolls and Barbies and other stuff.
Yes.
Like plushies and stuff. They all attacked me. This house was so fucking haunted. I could tell you a story every fucking night that happened in that house. But this is one that was so fucked up. They all jumped on me and were trying to strangle me and choke me and hold me down.
Wow.
Until I passed out.
Mm.
Until I woke up the next morning. And this was not a dream. This was like, it was, and then I ended up sleeping downstairs, and then my story could keep on going.
Okay.
I could tell you every day what happened.
Yeah.
But I'm going to end it here. I'm sorry.
Well, thank you, man, for taking It's okay.
I drink in the weekends. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Thank you for calling and taking the time, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, let's keep it going. We missed several phone calls. Apologize for that, but I try to be mindful of all the callers. Caller, your name and where are you calling from?
Yo, calling from Phoenix, man.
Calling from Phoenix. What's up, my brother? You have a question, a comment, or a story?
Yeah, I got just a quick question. So when on Brodium Radio, when DJ Yellow was on, you know how he was talking about being saved and how he was reading the Bible and whatnot.
Yes.
You mentioned that you read the Bible and that you read it multiple times.
Yes.
How come you're not saved? Or what's the difference between him being saved and you not being saved? You know what I mean? Like how can you tell that you're saved? You know what I mean?
Right. How could
I've always been curious about that.
That's a very, very good question, because to be quite honest with you, I read my book like a history book. He read it in a different part of his life where he needed God, and I'm sure we all need God, but there are people out there that don't believe in God, and I have to respect that as well. But like he shared in his story, he was homeless at one point. He was rock bottom, and rock bottom many times is a good place because that's where you find out many times who are your real friends. And once you hit bottom, like he said, there's only one place that you can look up. You can do is go up. So that's when somebody witnessed to him and told him about the Bible, told him about God, and he surrendered himself. So maybe I just haven't surrendered myself, but I read the book. And one of the things is that he considers himself a Christian, and I don't have anything against that. I will never call myself a Christian. Now, let me clarify that. If you're asking me, Do I believe the Bible is true? Yes, I'm a believer in the Bible. I've done my own research in the scriptures. But I guess I looked at it from a different perspective. I looked at it more as a history book, and he looked at it more as a something where he gave his life to. So I believe that's probably the difference. But let me say this. For those of you that do read the Bible, reading the Bible doesn't get you saved. So I've never said that I read the Bible, so I'm saved. I've never said that. So, but that's the difference. Right. I've read it from a historical perspective, and he read it from something that he needed. And he surrendered.
Since you mentioned being Christian, it's kind of funny, not funny, but like, why is it that a lot of Christians are the ones that say that they're saved, that they found Jesus, that they found the light? You know what I mean? I never really hear like a Catholic saying that they're saved. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's another good question. You know what? And maybe you should have called in during that episode and should have asked them the same question. That would have been a great question to ask us in front of each other. Now, the reason.
Another question aside from that. No, go ahead.
No, go. I mean, go ahead, brother. I'm giving you the opportunity.
No, I was gonna ask. You were bringing up all those alien movies and whatnot. You never seen the movies called the Phoenix Lights and the Phoenix Forgotten?
I could barely understand what you're saying. I don't know if you're on a Bluetooth or. And now we hang up. Okay. I don't know. He had a bad connection, I guess. Okay, here we go. Caller, your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up, Tony? This is Jose from Yuma, Arizona.
Jose from Yuma, Arizona. How you doing?
Good, man. So I have a question, man. So lately there's been movies coming up like based on Aztec culture and food and stuff like that, right?
Right.
Like the Black Panther with what's his name? He's from Atlantis, right?
Yes.
Now the Mummy is coming out with a new movie called Rise of the Aztec. So do you think they're hiding something over there, like in the pyramids, Mexico?
That's a good question, man. You know, I have family members that visit.
Lately, they've been coming up with a lot of movies, you know, based on Aztecas, you know, and cultura and stuff like that, you know.
And you know what? I don't want this to come out wrong, but I do want to say this, okay? We have people outside of our ethnicity, or should I say out of our raza, that are making these movies. Now, maybe that's good, but I think nobody's going to be able to tell our story other than us. Now, are they using our culture as a vehicle to make money? I hope not. I hope they tell the truth when they're.
You know, like on the Black Panther movie, yeah, they reached out to, you know, they went to Mexico for a reason, right? Or, you know,
right.
What was that guy say some more?
I could barely understand your last word.
Now, I said, you know, they reached out, you know, they brought up, you know, this, I guess it's a superhero, right, from Mexico, right? The dude from the ocean, right?
Yes.
No more, what was his name? So they're reaching out to me, they're coming up with all these movies. So, you know, and plus the Aztecs and the Mayans and all that, they were very, you know, with us throughout, you know, with the stars and the moon and the sun and everything, you know. So I think there's something out there in Mexico.
Yeah, I definitely believe that, like, you know, especially involving the pyramids, okay? I believe the same thing in Egypt.
I think the pyramids were maybe a meeting point.
Yeah.
Or some type of energy source. Cause, you know, that's all I wanted to share.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? I wish I knew a little bit more about that, but I will say, I have to agree with you. I believe that there's something out there, especially that hasn't been excavated, that hasn't been discovered yet. And I think maybe they're just trying to use it to, to put it out there in films to make money or whatnot. But I believe that as that being our story, we need to research and know a little bit more about that. So, but I'm glad you brought that up. Maybe it might provoke somebody.
Bro, I recommend you this YouTube channel. It's called El Documentalista, the documentalist,
Okay.
It's a good channel. They talk about, man, it's this guy that goes into very deep about everything.
Okay. Thank you, man.
Everything from witchcraft, Bible, UFOs, everything. It's a really good.
And is that all in Spanish?
Documentary show. Yes.
Okay. Documentalista, how did you pronounce that?
El Documentalista.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, that was the first time I've actually ever heard that word. So that was a little tongue twister for me.
Man, it's a really good show. They talk about, it's this guy that, for instance, El Charro Negro.
Okay.
That's a guy that's like, for instance, they consider him like the devil or...
Yes. Well, I'll definitely look into it.
Angel.
Yeah. I'll definitely look into it, man.
It's kind of like the Mano Peluda type of show.
Yes. Okay.
It's a good one, man. I recommend it.
Thank you,
really
bro.
Good show. Yeah, good night, bro. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Let's keep it going. I had a hard time saying that word, Norbert. Do you know how to say it? Documental, like document. But he's trying to say documentalista. That's what he said. Okay, here we go. We'll figure that out. Call her your name and where are you calling from?
Tony A. Caesar from Paris.
Caesar from Paris. How are you doing? You got a question, comment, or a story?
Yeah, I got a story. Let's keep this on the alien subject here. Every Sunday, Tony, I would go outside every Sunday before the shows, go outside and smoke a little blunt and put it inside my car.
Yes.
Facing my house. And it's a typical house on a cul-de-sac. And if you would visualize what's from you and your next door neighbor, I have rose bushes, trees, bushes, all that sort of stuff on the side of the house.
Yes.
So I'm facing my house, and I got to mention, I was smoking a blunt, but that shouldn't have nothing to do with it. But as I was sitting there, looking at the house, getting stoned, getting ready to watch football or whatnot, when I seen a human. Well, that's the only way I could describe it, right? 2 legs, 2 arms, slender in size. First thought in my head was somebody's trying to break in the house or snooping around. But I'm sitting there, and this has to be like 11 o'clock at night. So it's quiet. Everything's shut down. Nobody else is outside. And I'm staring at him, trying to see what his move would be. And he was in between the bushes. Now, I'm in my car. Windows are rolled up. I'm watching him. And as the silhouette gets stronger, I realize it's not a man. It's not a person. At that point, I say to myself, like, what the fuck? You're whispering it to yourself. Right when I said that, Tony, he heard me. He heard me, and he did like a what the fuck? Like directly, he heard where it came from. He stared right at me. I caught him slipping. And he was one of those reactions where it's like how an animal or a cat, you would scare a cat and it stares at you.
Yes.
And it froze. What it did next, Tony, is that very slowly it ruffled. That's the only way I can say it. It ruffled the bushes, and it made the roses and the flowers move around. Now that caught my attention when he did that, Tony, and the motherfucker, he blended into that motion of that's the only way I could really identify what he did. he did it like a harp. You know, a harp is big, and you know how the women extend their arms to hit the strings.
Yes.
He kind of did that. He did that to the bushes. The bushes moved, and of course, my eyes catch the motion, and the motherfucker disappeared into the waves of the bushes.
It was almost like he camouflaged himself.
Yeah,
okay.
Because he literally you can't really explain something disappearing in front of your eyes.
Yes.
You know, Tony, we're not used to seeing that. We're not used to explaining that on a regular. That's what he did, and every Sunday I would go out there and hope to see this guy again, and it never happened. And I had to see it there at least 2 minutes. It was just like regular, you know, hunched over watching things, and he dead heard me. He saw me in the car. I was staring. We stared at each other for as long as it took for him to ruffle up the fucking rose bush, and it just disappeared. Unbelievable.
Well, no.
But there is. What's that, Tony?
My question to you is how long ago did this happen again, and did you ever experience that again?
This happened in the year 2000. I'm going to say 2017.
Okay.
And of course, you know, when there's get-togethers and there's parties and people start talking about this and that, every time I bring that up, well, it's, you know, the marijuana, or, you know, it's discredited.
Yeah.
You know, but people know what you see. You know what you see. You can't explain it. That's one of the parts. That's the problem. What you're explaining, people can't fathom it unless you see it for yourself.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
I haven't seen anything like that before. I've seen, you know, I've seen UFOs, but nowadays you don't know if they're UFOs or drones.
Yes.
You know, we grew up in this earth our whole life looking up at the sky. We know what a helicopter sounds like.
Yes.
We know what an airplane looks like. You know, so when we see something in the sky moving in a form that is not straight like a plane, you know, we're smart enough to know what's going on.
Yes. Now,
but that there, yeah.
But let me ask you this: at any point, did this strike fear into you?
No, it wasn't fear. It was almost amazing, Tony.
Okay.
You know, amazing to where like, oh my God, I don't believe this happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I even, when it disappeared, I even went outside my car. I laughed real loud, and I was yelling, "I caught you! I caught you! You know, I saw you. I'm not crazy. I caught you!" And I just let out a loud laugh, and sure as shit, it was gone.
No.
But I know what it seen, and it seen me, and you know, a couple of days after, you do try to trip. Oh shit, is he gonna come back? Or, you know what I mean, in the alien world or in the kukui world, is that allowed to be seen?
Yeah.
You know, we don't know.
Here's my last question to you is this. If I had to twist your arm and ask you this question for, you know, what do you think it was?
Definitely it was, I'll tell you what it definitely wasn't. And it wasn't human being.
Okay. Good answer.
Definitely it didn't have clothes. You know what I mean? It did not have clothes. It didn't have a thing. I could see it so well. It didn't have a wrinkle in its body, I want to say.
Mm.
You know, even when it hunched down, it looked totally like you know, it would look like a human. Like human, and it wouldn't let off. And when it would go into a light a little bit, it wouldn't let off a reflection. You know, we're still human and we're people. Shit reflects off our skin. You know,
yeah.
Hair follicles, eyes, mouth, teeth, wet lips, anything like that. Now I'm talking as I'm an intelligent human being. I know what I see.
Right.
And I'm sure glad I lived through that. I'm sure glad that I seen it. And it sometimes it's pretty. I feel pretty fortunate that I did see that. So then I don't really have to worry about is something here, something not. Are we being visited? Of course we're being visited. Of course. Whatever this guy was doing, he was reconnaissance. I want to say, you know what I mean? Like the Navy SEAL, you know, going into something, but just take the gun away from him. That's what he was doing. It was crouched down, looking for something.
Okay.
And I caught it, and I let it know I caught it, and it heard me while I was in the car talking to myself. Like, you know, you have that moment, like, what the fuck? It straight out heard me. Like if I just told it to it in its ear. It knew exactly where I was. He saw me. He didn't even have to like move his head over. He saw directly. He saw me sitting in the car, just plain as day.
Yeah.
And it knew I caught him. Not his face, because he didn't have an expression on his face, but his body movement told me that, yeah, motherfucker, I caught you slipping. You got caught. And it just did that movida, Tony, where it blended into the bushes. I don't even want to say how it did that. It didn't go into the bush. It just blended with the movement. It turned into like a wave. It just, oh shit, I don't know. It disappeared.
Okay.
I guess. But I seen it do that, Tony, plain as day. That's a story that I did to my grandkids. The story that I told my kids, which they don't believe me, but it's palabra facts.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
The only thing, Tony, that I'm more for sure about that what happened is I'm almost totally positive that Miss Pac-Man's pussy looks like a fucking cherry turnover. That's how for sure I am right there, Tony.
Probably. So thank you. That's a lot of facts right there.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's pure facts. And Tony, thank you. Thanks. And I'm enjoying your 8-hour rewind. That's great stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Have a blessed night. Now, that was a freaky tale. Call her your name and where are you calling from?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Call her your name. Hey, what's up? It's Big Dog from East LA, bro.
Oh, what's up, big dog? Can you turn on your TV, por favor?
Oh, yeah. Hold on, bro. Let me turn it off. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Hey, no, respetos, bro, and to program. This is the first time I called to this show. I'm a big fan of the other one, you know?
Thank you.
Pero I wanted to touch on something real quick, bro. Early walked in, and I go, man, I want to get in here. But anyways, I was sort of hearing just a little bit. So, you know, I might be out of content, but you were talking about the Bible and como se expresó Yalo yesterday, when you done that video.
Yeah.
Yourself, you know, you have your knowledge, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I'll tell you this much, man. I'm going to tell you right now, man. Yesterday at 3 o'clock in the morning, bro, me lo avienté. I go, I want to see this. I kept telling my wife all fucking day. Yeah. We're going to talk about NWA stuff. I'm not really like into the music. I grew up in the 90s and da. The more the story, you got me off guard, bro. And y'all kept saying it. I'm going to get off people off guard, off content. When you guys start talking about facts, about life, greed, jealousy, envy, todo lo que pone el pinche diablo, you know what I mean?
Sí.
Todo lo que pone pinche every level,
yes.
different devil, no?
Yes.
And then I kind of when you started talking about your mom, based on your expression, you know, same thing as me with my pops, you know? And people done us dirty. Diablo también, que no ha visto? Well, you don't see in the industry, everybody doing each other dirty.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's part of the tools of the devil, man. You know, everybody always talks greedy, and jealousy and envy. You're 20 years in the industry, and you really see our race? They're all broke, bro. Bro's standing in pinche warehouses. Everybody's fucking like, you know, chewing each other up, you know? And it's sad. But no, what did God say, bro? Que la luz, la verdad, y el sol siempre salen all the time.
Yeah.
And with time, that's what your show gives it, bro. You know, your show, I already told you, bro. Pretty much he's probably on a lot of podcasts because your show's different, Tony.
Thank you, man.
And I always tell my camaradas from East LA, bro. Old school dudes, bro. Old school. Check out the homie from Wilmington. That dude's straight facts, bro. When I chip out on you, bro, con todo la respect, that if a fucking, like if a gente tells, hey, Tony, can you get this dude? Off the bat, bro, without your hesitation on your eyebrow, bro, and your body language, you look at the fucking camera, y 5 segundos, brother. Hey, ese cabrón le ha hablado, bro, y no quiere venir, moverse. That's how integrity is, bro. Because your show is about telling the truth, bro. Not pinche fucking, you know, fucking, fucking credit. Let me get the credit. This is that. You're not about that, bro.
Thank you, man.
You're about the, hey, bro. You have something to fucking say? Say it, bro. Y siempre, bro, siempre se ve, bro, se ve la humildad, bro. Y al mismo tiempo, like what you're saying, bro, you know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you right now, yes, that podcast that I seen about Yalo and you, bro, everybody, bro, I'm going to tell you right now, I believe I'm a man of, I don't consider myself Christian, bro, but I'll tell you this much. I do read my Bible in the morning, bro, if I do my burpees, and I'm going to tell you right now, bro, lo único que siempre digo, bro, have a relationship with God and have faith.
Absolutely.
Si quieren ir a la church, que Dios les ayude, bro. You know what I'm saying? Que Dios les ayude and all that. I always wish everybody the best, homie, you know what I mean? Pero Dios he's everywhere, bro. And, and we all have obstacles in life, bro.
Yes.
¿Entiendes? And you just go forward, bro. But that podcast, bro, that was God talking to everybody at 3 o'clock in the morning, homie. And I've been in the shoe, homie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Y algo me paró. I thought you were talking about NWA, but I thought they said, this is the first podcast I'm not going to see. And I stayed there for like 3 hours or something.
Yes.
Until fucking 6 o'clock in the morning, bitch. And I still got up to go to Holly. And I was just like, damn, was that guy talking to me, man? And it was just a trip.
That's good,
You know what I mean? Como básico, like,
Yes.
Pero gracias, boy. It is the reason I called you. I really walked in. So I didn't know. I go, man, I might even mess it up. All he told me to go, hey, hang up. Pero anyways. Pero también a little shout out to fucking little El Cuerpo de Capulina. Fucking, what's his name? Chobis or fucking, what's his name?
Norbies?
The little chubby kid? The guy that works with him?
Yeah, Norbies.
What's his name?
Norbies.
Oh, yeah, hey. No, Norbies. I thought it was Chobis and Chobis or fucking, I don't know, Pero I'm always work, But hey, that fool always fax them in sus noticias,
Yeah, he said it que parece Capulina.
Little cadera de fucking Lee May, Pero,
Yes.
Pero nada, but hey, bro, saludos y gracias, bro. Se agradece, and thank you for that message, bro.
Thank you, carnal. Have a
you never
blessed
switch
night.
to nobody, dog. Y se respeta eso, bro. Big time.
Gracias, carnal.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
All right, bro. Ahí se me cuida y que Dios lo bendiga, brother.
Dios lo bendiga.
You know what I mean?
Thank you for that call. The lines are open now, so if you got a question, comment, or a story you guys want to share, we got a couple of more minutes. Call your name and where you calling from. Caller. Okay. Let's go to the next call. There we go. Caller your name and where you calling from.
What up, Tony? It's the Snowman.
Snowman, how are you?
I'm doing well. Trying to recover from a little runny nose, but I'm enjoying the show, man.
All good, my brother. You know what? A lot of people are coming down with that runny nose stuff right now.
Yeah, it's weird because I don't have any body aches or like my head is headaches, just a runny nose and a little cough. So, hopefully I've been keeping my distance from people and drinking a lot of ginger tea.
Ginger tea is the key. Ginger tea. I got the bomb ginger tea. But anyways, my brother, I know you didn't call for ginger tea. So do you have a question or a comment or a story?
Yeah, like my studies with like extraterrestrial activity, the one thing I noticed about all the guys that get abducted, they're not out of shape. These extraterrestrials aren't getting people that are out of shape. They all, are very, in shape people, and then there was a couple, I forgot where they were from. They were abducted, black guy, white lady, and I think they're trying to get, the reproductive system to understand how we reproduce. Because one thing I heard that the Greys, they don't have any gender, so they can't reproduce. So that's something that they're, that's why we get abducted, and it's only like people who are in like this, in shape, have a, in shape anatomy. That from my research, that's what I found.
Yes. I've never heard that, but yeah.
Yeah, there was this movie, The Watch. It was with Ben Stiller, and he was like this in shape dude, always jogging every morning. And then the aliens, went after him and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It's just my research that I've done. You know, it's never us gorditos that get abducted. You know what I mean? It's always the in-shape cat.
So, okay, so are you saying that if you are out of shape, you are most likely not to get abducted?
That's what I'm saying.
All right. That sounds pretty good. So a lot of you guys ain't got nothing to worry about. But you know what? I do want to say something, Snowman. And correct me if I'm wrong, please, okay? From what studying I've done, the only people that have ever been abducted have been white people. Is that true from what you know of?
That's what I was thinking too. The stories, like the guys that go on like that broadcast it, but there was this African American gentleman. He was like, he had just like it was when after like when racism was really heavy and he was dating a white girl. He got pulled over by the cops.
Yes.
I'm gonna look up the story and I'm gonna send it to Norbert.
Okay.
Norby. But yeah, there was it was an incident. He was an African American gentleman, and the story never changed with him. You know, and they also like sugar water. You know, I don't know if you've seen Men in Black, but his story was that another guy the alien went to his house and asked for sugar water.
Sugar water. Wow.
Yeah, that was the request.
I've never heard that, but I'm glad you shared that. I greatly appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, no, I think that's why they want to, you know, abduct us and, you know, look at our reproductive system, because we, you know, our anatomy, we're able to reproduce. And if you look at the world now, they're saying a lot of, like 10 years, a lot of countries won't exist because they're not reproducing like we used to reproduce. So that's something that I wanted to share.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Snowman. Greatly appreciate your phone calls, man.
Yeah, have a good one, son.
You too, brother. Okay, you guys, we have a couple of more minutes. If you guys want to call in and share your stories or share your comments, I'm only going to give you guys a couple of more minutes. Call your name and where you calling from.
What's up? It's Cosmic Eternal calling from Van Nuys.
What's up, brother? You got a question, comment, or a story?
Yeah, I wanted to elaborate on what the last caller was talking about.
Yes.
The way that it's been broken down is that there's many types of different extraterrestrials, and not just extraterrestrials. There's also intraterrestrials. But like the one he's talking about, the ones who eat the sugar.
Yes.
Those are insectoids, pretty much like the cucarachas, you know, and like the movies, they basically showing us, you know, up front. Then there's like the reptilians.
Yes.
And then también there's sea lion beings and dolphinoid beings. A lot of them are come through like portals through the sea, you know, and then they say the grays are basically what you call as you know, they're the humans from this time that couldn't reproduce. They became technologically advanced and genderless, which is what we're seeing right now with all the non-binary thing. It seems like it's going towards that, right? They want to be just basically in the computadora, freaking growing the babies in the labs. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's really interesting. And también, if anyone wants to do research, in the 60s, have you ever heard of Dr. Timothy Leary?
No, I have not.
He's the guy in the 60s who he was on the news, and he was like, I think he was at MIT. He was a Harvard, one of those up there white collar professors. He went to with Maria Sabina in Mexico. They did the mushrooms and they did the LSD thing. And when he was doing the LSD, he said that he made contact with us in the future, that they were the extraterrestrials, you know. But you know, like I like to say, it's such a big, mysterious world. We don't really know.
Right.
You know, I do believe that all the races we see, because we're all so different and so unique, and eat different things and have weird mannerisms and inclinations towards war or inclinations towards the earth or inclinations towards technology. I just think that all the individual races, we're like humanoid. There's like an origin, like a creator, like a creator who makes us like in his image, but then they've all broken off through the galaxies, you know? And like that us, we're all mixed now because it says in the Bible, right, that they came down. The Elohim is like, it refers to extraterrestrials. I forgot too because it means like it's plural, you know. And then who was it? The one who went up in the chariot of fire?
Elijah,
right?
yes.
And then there's a good argument where I saw somebody saying, he's like, did Elijah go? Did he? Because they talk about Christ was resurrected, right? And they're saying, okay, is it in the corporal body? But
Yes.
then they say Elijah, the way it's written, that he went up in his corporal body, that he was taken into the chariot, like in this body,
Yes.
you know? So it's really interesting.
Okay.
But what do you think? Like, do you believe that us as like Chicanos, Mexicans, that we're, you know, from the extraterrestrials, from the Elohim as extraterrestrials, or I'm just curious to, like, what do you think?
Okay, the word Elohim to me in Hebrew, it means God, G-O-D, God. So in Genesis 1:1, when it says in the beginning, or in the beginning, actually in Hebrew, Bereshit Elohim, that's Hebrew. So that's in the beginning, God. Now, I believe the Bible story. I believe God created man. I don't believe that aliens put it here or we're aliens or anything like that. I do believe that God created man, and that's where I stand.
Yeah.
I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if you want a little bit more, but that's.
Do you believe basically that that God or Yahweh could reference like an extraterrestrial civilization or creator?
Some people have said that. I don't believe it, and again, this is coming from me, you know. And some people sometimes don't like my answers because they like to say that I'm narrow-minded and I need to think outside of that. But let me give you an example where Yahweh came from. Just an example, and why I don't believe that. I'll give you an example. When Moses went to Mount Sinai, which is in Saudi Arabia, it says that a cloud came down over Mount Sinai, and there was a trumpet sound. Moses goes up and meets with God and speaks to him face to face, speaks with Elohim. So Elohim or God tells him, go tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Okay. Moses says, if Pharaoh would ask me who sends me, the English translation says that God told Moses, tell Pharaoh that my name is I am that I am. Okay, now in the Hebrew, since the Hebrew language doesn't have any vowels, or the aleph bet, which today we call the alphabet, since the Hebrew, I'll just say alphabet for the sake of the people watching, but it's really called aleph bet. Doesn't have any vowels, it's all consonants. He said, tell him Yud Hey Vav Hey sent you. Yud Hey Vav Hey. Unless we heard God himself tell Moses his name, we don't know how to pronounce it. Now, people would say, well, what about the name? Now we're talking about in the New Testament, Adonai, which is a Greek word. Now I say, what about Adonai? So what they do, they take the vowels from the name Adonai and they put it in between Yud Hey Vav Hey. Now they come up with, maybe it's Yahweh, maybe it's Yahovah, or maybe it's Jehovah. And that's how people came up with God's name.
Yeah.
So,
you know, it's crazy that you bring that up because I don't know if you feel the same way, but I've always understood that, you know, this says in which book in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God.
yes.
So, you know, they say the importance of saying Yeshua and Yahweh. And when you meditate, especially on Yod Hey Vod Hey, it's a very powerful vibration, and if you're in the right mind state, you could actually, you could almost become in touch with, and this is from my own experience, like with this Christ consciousness. I felt like I seen Christ through that, through those words, those sounds.
Yes, yes. No, you are absolutely right with all of that, and once again, you said in the beginning was the word was with God, and the word in the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. And then you skip down to verse 14 in John chapter 1, and you get a nice little surprise right there. So I recommend everybody to read the Gospel of John, verse 1, and then skip down to verse 14. And there goes your answer right there. So anyways.
How do you feel about
talk to me.
How do you feel about the apostle, the 13th? Is it Paul, the Roman?
Yeah, the apostle. But he wasn't the 13. Talking about the 12, because Judas pretty much killed himself.
The one who was later.
Yeah.
The one who was a Roman, because that's the one where I always when in my younger days, I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if I trust that part, because, you think of like the atrocities from the church and the Roman Catholic Church. But then, as you get older, you start to think about like, well, humans evolve. And at some point right now, everyone with the little bit we have, even if it's not much in the States, like we're blessed. There's food everywhere. There's enough. It's just there's so much of it. Sometimes we don't know what to do with it.
Yes.
But the Apostle Paul, I would always wonder, like, because he was a Roman. I don't know. Is it like he? Because I heard people say that he was trying to take the place of Christ. Of be like the new Jesus and have a new gospel.
No, that's far.
That's where they say.
That's far from it. I know. No, that's far from it. Let me mention something, please. I want to clear this up because I don't want to confuse anyone. Because you had to mention him being the 13th disciple. No, there were 12 disciples. Judas killed himself. Okay, then another one was chosen in the book of Acts, and his name was Matthias. He became the 12th disciple. Now, Paul was Hebrew, but he was a Roman citizen. That's why people refer to him as Roman. But he was a Roman citizen. But he was a Hebrew. He was a Pharisee. There's 27 books in the New Testament, and Paul wrote 14, and most people credit him the book of Hebrews. That's what makes the 14th book. But yes, I believe that if you look at the style of the writing, the way he started and the way he ended his letters, which we call epistles, and epistles is just a Greek word that means letter. So he wrote 14 letters of the New Testament. And the majority of those letters, let me bless somebody tonight. The majority of those letters, especially the book of Philippians, which is by most people considered the book of joy. You know where he wrote the majority of those letters, those epistles, especially the book of Philippians? In jail.
Where? Yeah.
In jail. Okay, so there's a lot of people that like to come out and brag about doing time. The Apostle Paul never bragged about doing time. He bragged about God and how God gave him joy in prison. And you know what he was locked up for? For preaching the gospel.
The gospel, yeah.
While encouraging everyone to maintain their joy out here. Thank you, caller.
All right, Tony. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Yes, likewise, brother. Have a blessed night. We're going to take one more phone call, okay? When you guys pick my brain, you guys get me, okay? Which is a good thing. Caller, your name and where are you calling from? You're the last caller.
Don Capone, I made it. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Don Capone, hey, all respect. Hey, I'm Michael. I'm from California. I'm from SAC.
How you doing, Michael from SAC? Bless you.
Bro, hey, I just called to just to give you the respect, bro. That's all. Yeah, bro, I could talk about whatever, bro. But yeah. So yep. Well, I'm gonna start calling in more.
Well,
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here. And you know what? Since you called, might as well just share something. You're the last caller.
Okay, orale.
I mean, is there,
hey,
is there a
look,
question?
Bro, I don't want to bore them, but all right, look, Tone, how about the pyramids, bro? Look don't they say that those pyramids are made so precisely that even today they couldn't redo it? Is that for real?
Are you talking about the pyramids in Egypt?
Well, just yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, because I was a lot of people often said, Tony, how come you don't know so much about your culture? Because as a young kid, I had a father that taught me so many different things, so I was intrigued with Egyptology. I was intrigued with hieroglyphics. I was intrigued with cartouches. I was intrigued with different alphabets from different parts of the world. So now, when you look at the pyramids, each stone was at least 5 tons each.
Exactly.
Today we have, let's go back to 8-tracks, cassettes, 8-track tapes. Then we evolved to eventually to cassettes, and then vinyl, okay, and then CDs, and then MP3s, and then cell phones, and then, DVD players, VHS, electric cars. We have Wi-Fi. We have everything today, and we still cannot figure out, with all this technology, how they built those pyramids. Okay, now.
But look, so they had the manpower, because, I mean, when I think about it, I'm sure they had tens of thousands of people working. But how, like, okay, when they say we couldn't rebuild it, I mean, how do we know that? They could rebuild it. I don't know.
I guess the question is, we can rebuild it with today's technology. Yes, we can. We have the, if you will, the cranes and everything that we need to build it.
Right, but how did they do it?
How did they do it? And
okay, so look. Okay, wait, look. I noticed you said Egypt. Does that mean the ones in Mexico are not anywhere near as sharp as Egypt?
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay, I don't know.
Here's the difference, because the ones in Mexico come with steps, okay? Now you look at the Egyptian ones.
Okay. I've been to Chichen Itza. I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Now we have Egypt. And now when you look at those, because they've been corroded throughout the centuries, now they look like steps. A lot of people don't know that they were never steps. They were smooth. They were completely smooth. A cheap analogy would be when you look at the Luxor in Las Vegas. There were no steps. They were completely smooth. There were 3 of them. And you know what color they were?
Elbows up. No, tell me.
They were white. Can you imagine seeing those 3 pyramids with the sun hitting them during that time?
See, yeah, I get you. I'm learning, and I get it.
That's the difference.
See, right, bro. So, yep. Fucking A. Right. I know.
All good, my brother.
Hey, okay, how about this? Hey, you might not want to answer it. I respect it. But look, I know you don't think the earth is flat. But it's all good, though.
No, I...
Because, look,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I'll answer it if you want me to.
I was going to say, hey, I respect Marvelous, but go ahead. I don't think the earth is flat.
No, I don't think the earth is flat either. But I will say this in respect to him and respect to everyone that believes that. I will say this. I've never did my research to see if the earth is flat. Now, I only started hearing of this flat earther theory. Some people say not a theory, but I'm just going to call it that for right now. Maybe within the last 5 years. That's it.
Hey, look. I called for no reason, bro. I just called to say what's up.
Thank you.
But, yeah, it's all good, bro.
It's all good, man. You know what? But that's what makes this show great, is because we have 2 differences of opinion. I don't look at Marvelous any different because he believes that. He believes that. And I respect him. I consider this guy a friend. So I have to value and respect what he says. But at the same time, it's vice versa.
Already.
You know, I just never did my research to say, I'm going to discredit that and I want to debate you. I'm not, because I've never looked into it. I just never believed.
Hey, yeah. No, bro. Hey, look, shout out Norbies, shout out Magic Girl. Hey, shout out Marvelous. Hey, bro, Tony is the truth. You already know, Tony.
Thank you, my brother. You have a blessed night now.
It's all good, bro. Hey, I'm going to call in more, too. Hey, I like the chat talking shit. Let's go.
That'll work. All right, thank you. All right, guys, that was it. Let me go ahead and log out because my battery's also dying, and I didn't think I would make it. Okay, let me see. Sorry, guys, no more calls. Let me go ahead and get out of here. Okay, here we go. Okay, there we go. Okay. First and foremost, let me take these headphones off. And let me go ahead and end with this. I want to thank everybody on the live chat. I want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank all my callers. I want to thank everyone that called in and shared their experiences, had questions, and just want to thank everybody, because if it wasn't for you guys, I always want to acknowledge the fans. I always want to acknowledge that every one of you guys, that without you guys, I wouldn't be here. Without you guys, I am nothing in the sense of being a podcaster, being a producer, director, etc., being a DJ or whatnot. And that's one thing that a lot of artists and a lot of podcasters need to appreciate are the fans. You don't disrespect the fans, okay? If anything, you bless them and you uplift them and you educate them, you teach them. You know, that's how you get fans, you know. When people come up to me and tell me, hey, Tony, I watch you. Hey, Tony, I'm a big fan. I'm humbled by those words. I truly, truly am humbled by these words. You know, when I'm long gone, I want people to be able to say, I learned from that guy. That guy blessed me. That guy encouraged me. That's what I want. I want to be missed. Now, think about this. If you're not missed, if you leave your job tomorrow, ask yourself this question. Will you be missed? If you're not missed, it's because you didn't make an impact. I want to make an impact. I want to speak into people's lives. I want to bless people. I want to encourage them and motivate them. So, once again, I just want to thank you guys, those of you guys that like, comment, and subscribe, those of you guys that shared, those of you guys that called in once again. So, much love and much respect to you guys. And so go ahead and we got the live chat, the super chat, I guess.
Yeah, one super chat.
Go ahead.
Google Plex dropped $1.99. He said legalize Cante.
Okay, thank you. So, anyways, like I said, I hope you guys were blessed tonight. And regardless of what people say on the live chat, we're all here for fun. So let me give a shout out to my team. And my team, once again, is Norbert. If you guys didn't go watch News of Norbeast, make sure you guys check that out. We had a great time last night. And the day before, we had, I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, I thought you said something else. I'm sorry. The night before that, we had DJ Yella from NWA. DJ Yella shares his faith. Many people were blessed by that. A lot of people didn't expect that. We also had Lily Flor. I mean, we had so many people come through here and bless this platform. So make sure you guys go on the other podcast, the Tony Vision page, and check out those interviews. Also, want to give a shout out to Alex Cervantes Enterprise. Also want to give a shout out to my son, B. Scanless. And also want to give a shout out to the Hip Hop Jedi. And it's important for me to acknowledge them simply because if you're an up and coming or wannabe podcaster that wants to do this, you can't do this without a team. You'll win with a team. Bless them, acknowledge them, you know, because they are just as important as you. They're just as important as me. So thank you very much. You guys take care, and hopefully we'll see you guys next week, next Friday. Until then, enjoy this freaky night and expect the unexpected, and we're out of here.